another show of Along the River. I'm Alex Herzog, your host, and with me today is Chief Bryan Burr of the Claremont Fire Department. How you doing, Chief?
How you doing? Pretty good today?
Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself here. You're a longtime Claremont resident, right?
Yeah, born and raised in Claremont. Was born in Claremont General Hospital up on Elm Street. And I've lived in and around the community all my life. Never left.
So you've been a firefighter your entire career?
Actually, no. I was in the private sector for 10 years.
Oh.
The first 10 years of my adult life, I was in the automobile business. Kind of followed the tradition of my dad, who was in the automobile business, owned a business in Claremont, primarily a body shop repair. So that was the trajectory I was taking.
Excellent.
But was looking for something different, and lo and behold, long story short, I ended up in the fire service.
Third generation, I read.
Yeah, and that was something I didn't know originally. I knew that my dad's cousin was a retired firefighter from Claremont, and did a full 20-year career, but never knew that his father, who happens to be my great uncle, was a career firefighter in Claremont.
Oh, that's amazing.
Years later.
So how big's the department?
Well, the department consists of 16 full-time staff, suppression staff, 2 full-time administrative staff, a deputy chief in charge of fire prevention, and then myself. We have a administrative assistant, part-time administrative assistant, and then we have 8 call firefighters. They're paid call people who respond to an emergency when requested.
I see. So when you use the call ones, I know Nick Koloski's one of them. We were talking about that, and recently you had the fire. Do they just respond when a fire comes up, or do you call out?
We have to call them out, and that's the officer in charge or at the scene that decides that he needs more manpower. That's when those forces are brought in.
Excellent, excellent. Trucks. How many trucks? I think I took the scouts there one day, and we got a great tour of the fire department. There was a number. How many trucks do you have?
So firefighting apparatus inside the building, we have 6.
6 trucks.
Currently have 6 trucks. We have some support vehicles for fire prevention, the chief's vehicle. We have smaller units out in what we call our barn that are for brush fires. We also are in charge of the fire alarm system in the city and the traffic light system in the city. So we have an aerial truck for the fire alarm and traffic light supervisor to repair and maintain those systems.
Wow, that's amazing. So when we talk about I think I've heard that the city bought a new truck, and it's not quite ready yet?
It's not quite ready yet. We have a crew that's been working and upfitting equipment on that truck, and it's a slow process because we still have to be in service with our other fleet. And so once that truck is ready to transfer equipment over, it'll go in service. The guys have been driving it each shift, different shifts that come on to get used to how that thing operates, and we've had some training with the dealership, bringing in their expertise on the differences between that truck and our other fleet trucks. So it's coming together really well.
That's great, and I want to jump back a little bit because I understand you're not just our fire chief, but you're also, one of your duties is the airport.
Yes, I'm the airport manager along with being a fire chief, and it's a position that's been held by the fire chief since the early 80s. So I'm the 4th fire chief to be the city's airport manager.
Excellent. And so what kind of duties is that? I live near the airport and I see flights coming in and out.
So primarily the job of the airport manager is to maintain the budget, operate the budget, and work with the fixed-based operator, who is a contract service that maintains the airstrip mowing and snow removal at the airport. We buy and sell aviation fuel, so we market that in order to gain some profits for the airport.
And it's fairly busy for a smaller airport. There's no tower out there, right? But
it's an unrestricted airport, meaning that aircraft can come and go as they please.
Oh, okay.
So there's no tower, like you said, and pilots can come and go. And primarily, other than the based aircraft, which we have about 17 at the airport, pilots can come and buy fuel primarily.
Excellent. And then you're also, another title was Emergency Management Director. And with COVID, that must have kept you pretty busy.
It certainly did. It put another hat on
Right.
on the fire chief for sure. And we've been dealing with COVID for just a little over a year now, and it certainly adds an element that no one expected. I think it affected all of us at one degree or another.
Absolutely, I think it's touched upon a lot of lives. But what I really want to help you promote is you've got a couple of grants. One in particular, the smoke detector grant. Why don't you tell us what about that is? What's all that?
So yeah, the smoke detector grant started out with a couple of grants, or not a couple grants, a grant from the State Fire Marshal's office several years ago. And that grant targeted 20 communities in the state of New Hampshire that they felt were in need. So we were able to tap into that and install some smoke alarms throughout the city using that grant. And then right on the heels of that, we worked in conjunction with the American Red Cross with their smoke alarm program. And in the fall of 19, several of the firefighters got together with volunteers, and we canvassed areas of the city using, at the time, the girls' soccer team to put door knockers on doors and homes to say that on a such and such a date we would be coming and installing smoke alarms. There was other process behind it, but essentially that's what we did. And on a Saturday we went out and installed smoke alarms free of charge with the Red Cross. So we wanted to keep the program going, and so with soliciting some small grants from local businesses and the manufacturers, we were able to purchase smoke alarms for the program.
Excellent. So can they reach out to you to get that, or how do they apply for that?
It's really easy. Call the fire station and say, I want smoke alarms installed in my home. It's as simple as that. If you don't have working smoke alarms, we're going to put smoke alarms to fully protect your home. You have the only criteria is you have to be a single family home and owner occupied.
I see. Okay.
So
if I'm renting, but your landlord can call.
Your landlord has to provide those on a commercial basis.
I see. Okay.
So they're required to have smoke alarms in those properties.
That's great.
But if you're, like I said, if you're an owner occupier of a single family home, we will put smoke alarms in every level of your home and every bedroom in your home.
And I know you guys, in general, do a lot in fire prevention, which is great. What are the kind of things you do for kids? And I think there was a grant that you got recently for something specific, right?
Sure did. It was a chance grant that we applied for. It was a Factory Mutual Global Fire Prevention Grant. And basically what they wanted was to know if we got a grant, what we would use it for. So I got the idea that, let's see if we can get a Sparky the fire suit costume. And so I pitched it to them, and several months later they got back to us and said that we were one of a few grants that they were providing, and they'd be sending us a check in the mail.
That's awesome. Now you're wearing the costume? Are you wearing it?
That's been a question that's asked, well, who's going to wear the costume? I don't think I'm going to, but...
Lowest man on the totem pole, lowest person?
You never know, so...
Well, I think good leadership would show that you'd wear it, so there you go.
You're putting me on the spot now.
Maybe, just for your firefighters. But I also think in October you have an activity week, right?
Yeah, in conjunction with National Fire Prevention Week, that's kind of our big time of year for fire prevention, especially with the school-age children. Of course, with COVID this last year, we didn't do too much with fire prevention, but traditionally we either go to schools in the city of Claremont, or they come to the fire station. We put on a pretty good program every year. The firefighters do an excellent job in producing that program.
Absolutely. I think that's really good for our kids to kind of learn that now. Being proactive makes more sense than reactive in some situations. So, when I'm thinking about, we talked about a little about your role in emergency management for the city. With COVID, how has that affected how firefighters respond to calls now?
Well, it's affected us greatly. Our personal protective equipment requires us now to mask up at all times. And just the stress of that idea that, we could be affected by COVID. We did have an experience with some members getting COVID or having to be quarantined because of COVID, so it affected us directly, as did many fire departments across New Hampshire and the country.
Yeah, I can imagine that must have been a little difficult managing responses. But so when there's an incident, someone calls 911 emergency, It is a city service, correct?
Yes.
And fire department responds, whether it's a health-related or many other kind of emergencies that come up. You were telling us a story about the young man falling into the river. What are some interesting cases you've come across in your career?
Well, the story you talk about, almost 20 years ago was certainly a unique situation and a case that, we don't see a lot of. Ice rescues are not something that we do a lot, but we are trained to do ice rescues and low angle rescues and high angle rescues using ropes and of course, auto extrication. So that's probably the most unique one that I can personally attest to.
Citizens can call 911, they get through to dispatch, and if they've got an injury, you guys come out and assess. And I say guys, I'm assuming, I don't want to make that assumption, but any of your officers can come out and assess the situation.
Absolutely.
And there's a team. If they refuse service, can they do that?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
There's a procedure for refusing service.
But it never hurts to call, because I
Right.
can make sure that if someone needed emergency care, they'd have it.
We can't force anybody to get care, but if we're called and they say that they don't want to go to the hospital, then they don't have to.
Yes, I've encountered just a number of senior citizens that refuse to call, and then I said, you should just get checked out and evaluated, and they'll tell you whether or not it's a more serious than you think.
Sure.
That's why I wanted to make sure we got that cleared out there for people
Absolutely.
to know. So, and I think that's what I really wanted to know is, so you've been a long-term resident of Claremont. What's your favorite thing? What's the thing you most like about being in Claremont?
Well, I think one of the things about being a longtime resident of Claremont is if I don't know you, I know somebody that does, and that's kind of a unique attribute to be able to say that. It's hard to hide in Claremont if you've been here a long time.
That's true. That's true. Small community, we get to know each other very well. And I think that's why I wanted you here, so that the community, most of the community knows you, but we do have some folks coming in and out, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity. Spring is here. Things are getting a little warmer. Neighbors want to get out and have a little bit of a burn pit. What do they need to do?
Well, that's a pretty simple thing. Come to the fire station and we'll write you a permit if you're in the areas that allow burning or open burning, wood burning. And just come to the fire station. You have to get a signed permit. The permit is a permit that's issued by the state of New Hampshire Forest and Lands, and we're just an arm of that agency. The fire chief in each community typically is the warden, and then his officers below him are the deputy wardens for the community. So any one of our officers, lieutenants or captains, deputy chief can fill out a permit.
Well, thanks, Chief, for coming in. I really appreciate having a chance to talk to you. Anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like the community to know?
Again, the smoke alarm program is really personal for me, and if you want smoke alarms and you meet the criteria, by all means, don't hesitate. It only takes one smoke alarm to save a life.
And we don't want to call 911 for that, but what is the phone number for?
Our business line is 542-5156 or 542-7012.
Excellent. So call that number when you're ready and you're looking for a fire alarm, and the fire department's going to help you out with that. Thanks a lot, Chief. Appreciate having you on the show. I'm Alex Herzog, your host, and thanks again to Bryan for coming in, our chief here, and have a great day.